This is Yo-Yo Juice very excited about this project called How is Algebra Taught from Kindergarten through 8th Grade? Well, what's going to happen on this project is that you're going to have this graphic organizer that's listed below, and we're going to focus on a scope and sequence of the major topics listed in the mathematical domains to identify the K-8 pathway to algebra and beyond. So you're going to look at the 2013 California Math Framework and Standard Document as a guide, and you're going to ask this question: how is algebra taught from kindergarten through 8th grade? And so we're going to create a visual reference to that. Some big ideas here are this: students will be required to submit a one-page reflection on this K-8 pathway to algebra journey with respect to their standard, and provide examples of what their standard looks like through each grade level. You're going to be able to use the California framework. There's a reference there. Also, and this is where I'm getting super excited about, is that students are going to use this achievethecore.org coherence map to reference logically and to vertically align the standards with this project. And also, students, you are going to draw a solution to the example problem. Well, there was a lot of words like that right there. So what does this really mean? So this is what you're going to do. Let's first create some background knowledge on some common terms that you're going to need to be aware of with your growing knowledge of the California framework. So this is just an example of the California framework. This is 3rd grade, and where it says operations in algebraic thinking right there, what we call this and what it is called a domain. Okay, so we have domains. Not only do we have domains, but we have those bulleted points. And these bulleted points right here, these things are called clusters. Scrolling forward, we can get more detail about domains, clusters, and now standards. And so those items underneath cluster are the standards. So there's 4 standards that make up the cluster, represent and solve problems involving multiplication and division underneath the domain called operations in algebraic thinking. Your framework is designed to have basically 5 domains in each of the grade levels, are highlighted in the blue bold. So with that background, let's take a look at this project. So here's an example. Here's a 3rd grade operations in algebraic thinking standard. So there's a standard description. We will also go to achievethecore.org website, and we're going to use that as a reference. And I'll go there in a moment. You're going to get a reference to where you got the standard domain, but also you're also going to put an example problem over here. And not only is it the example problem for that reference, but you are also going to draw the solution. So in this case, 5 rows of trading cards with 3 trading cards in each row. So that would be an example of an entry on this particular assignment. So to make logical sense of your project, you're going to go to achievethecore.org and click on where it says Coherence Map, and there's a link that's already provided for you. Go ahead and go through the clicking getting started. You might have 2 or 3 screens, but this is the map for mathematics. So if I were to focus on 3rd grade, I can click on 3rd grade. What we see here are the 5 domains associated with 3rd grade. We're going to focus here on operations in algebraic thinking. When I click on that, I now see that we have the various standards represented here. And so inside of a cluster, and then here's another cluster with 2 standards and another cluster. This one only has 1 standard. This has another major cluster with 2 standards. If I were to click on 3OA1 where it says map standard, what unfolds is a direction that we can follow as far as what happened in 2nd grade. That's over here on the left. Or I can also follow these dark gray lines over to the right, go back to my 3rd grade OA standard. Moving over to the right, I can also see how that 3rd grade standard of OA1 is supported by, let's say, OA2. And we can also see how that standard is also supported by going into 4th grade. I can click over here on the right to 4th grade, and there's another way that standard is being utilized as we move through the grades. And so this is vertical alignment, showing you how a fourth grade standard is backwards mapped, let's say, to a third grade standard, and that third grade standard can be mapped either horizontally across the grade level, like up here, to other third grade standards, or just keep clicking as you follow these paths back to, here we are, to 3OA1, and then over to the left to 2OAC3. So the big idea with this map is that it's making coherence across our standards. Our standards in a lower grade support standards in an upper grade. Why that's important? If your student, for instance, in third grade didn't quite get 3OA1, is it a grade level issue, or is it a below grade level issue? If it's below grade level issue, you can just click over to the left, and now you know where you need to go in order to provide remediation, which is why this project is so important, because when you start building out your pathway to algebra, you'll at least start to see the logic that's underneath the frameworks and how they were designed. So let's put this all together for the project. So on this particular project, let's say you want to start off with this third grade OA1 standard. So just copy the standard, and here's my third grade. I'll paste it. And then next, what I'll need to do is get the reference. So just grab that URL. I don't think you can see the URL because my video is not grabbing it, but you get the idea. Copy and just paste that guy right in here. The next thing we will need to do is to get a sample question. If you want to use what's on the achievethecore.org website, awesome. If you want to find an example somewhere else, that's awesome too. Just make sure that that example lines up with the expectation of the standard. And so we'll just snip it. So I snipped it already. So I'm going to copy it and then paste it right into the document, and then go ahead and draw a solution. So I've drawn out my solution there, and that would be the scope of what you would need to do on this particular third grade example for a standard in question. So from here, let's go back to the coherence map. Here's third grade OA1, and now I want to go to find out what the second grade supporting standard is. I could just click right there. There's second grade OAC3, and I would follow a same pattern of copying and pasting this, grabbing the URL and providing an example. And so just keep that pattern going. Know that you can click right here where it says map standard. You get some more information here. You can download the example task. This one doesn't seem like it has a lot of great resources as far as SBAC or PARC items, simply because it's not a testing grade level. So you may need to go out on the internet and search 2OA.C3 example problem, or be able to look at perhaps this task that's here and decide if that's something that you want to use for your example on this project. Again, you would just, once the second grade is listed on your project, go to the left, you click the first grade one. Here's the first grade project that supports it. And again, just go out on the internet and do a search for example problems, or here's potentially one as well. If a standard seems to stop, like in this case, like map the standard again, and it's not going to a kindergarten, well, just stop at that point and do your best on what you think makes sense for the kindergarten piece that would work there, and then jump back into the flow of your project and keep completing the rest of those for grades 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Again, this is a big concept on coherence. I'll tell you this, no one's really talking about coherence in a deep level out in the field right now, but this is, in my opinion, the next big wave of what's going to happen. By you doing this project, you're going to understand what the coherence map is all about with achievethecore.org. It's what is the basis of how our testing system is really utilized, but more importantly, it's about this. If a student doesn't understand, let's say, a particular problem in third grade, where do you go to figure out what the underlying grade level concern might be? Well, the way you do that is just follow that coherence map. And so if your kids are struggling with third grade OAA4, click Map That Standard, and you can start to see, let's say, here's the vertical alignment of what's happening with that grade level. And so maybe you needed to go to an OA3 standard if their student was struggling, or you might need to jump over to OAB6. Another idea is just click Map That Standard, and you can continue to make your way backwards, or vertically backwards, or horizontally in the grade level to find those underlying ideas why a student might be struggling with their concept. So that's really the big idea. Where do you go when a student doesn't understand a concept? Is it grade level or is it below grade level? Hope this makes sense. I'm excited about this project. If you have any questions, by all means, send me an email or talk to Leslie as well. And we're excited about what you guys are going to produce.